that's a different question altogether. They got to make some adjustments going into picks and bans for Game 2 if they want to try and slow them down. We talked about it already. This is such an important game for both these teams, tied at 3-3 with a chance to try and at least get close to those top two. You got to win here if you want to do that.
Have to, and Splyce has looked very good so far, so I think Trifecta likely feeling a bit nervous about their opportunities now. They got to make this picks and bans segment a little bit better.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going to start off by banning away the Giannis Chernobog banned by Splyce. These are the bans that we saw, or certainly the Chernobog last game and the Shibalanke, taking away some of these options so far, keeping things the way they were in Game 1. The adjustments are, what are they going to give Paul this time? Give him the Uller again?
Right.
The adjustments are, are they going to go with the Achilles in the jungle? I mean, that's where they have some room to kind of move around.
Sure, the double ADC, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I'm not sure that's where I'd go. Hachiman, first pick.
Wow.
Hachiman
over Artemis.
Wasn't played at all last game.
Hachiman's really good, by the way.
Or banned. Hachiman's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Trifecta has a selection of first or second pick. They take first pick, and then it feels like they just go, we don't really know what we want. Like,
it's curious, yeah.
If you wanted Hachiman, go second pick. Splyce certainly isn't going to first pick him. Then you get another one after that, and you have a much better opportunity. You get the last pick of the draft. You get to get the first pick out of ban phase, the second ban phase. You get so much for being in that second pick slot. I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah, that first slot is really why you pick going first, because it's Splyce going to pick again after the ban. Splyce is going to pick last in his composition. At this point, they've kind of ceded over the advantage of being first pick. Really, it feels like by taking the Hachiman, and now Splyce are the ones who can sort of build upon the fact they're second pick. If they even want to. So far, they're just picking what they picked last game, and why not, right?
Why not?
Like, it worked.
Why not? Yeah. Now, a better adjustment here. Trifecta picking things that can still fight early on, but have some better late-game prowess in the Sylvanas knock-up, which is going to provide a whole lot for them. The Raijin can bring excellent late-game team fight damage, but again, this is a pick that Trifecta has really leaned on for Paul.
Yes.
I wonder why this isn't Thoth, which a lot of other players are really prioritizing. That's a god that Paul has in the god pool that is a little bit more late-game oriented. Trifecta still seem really dead set on winning early game no matter what.
At least this time it is going to be the Hunter and the mid lane mage, but you're right. They've come back to this Raijin well a lot since adding Paul to the roster. And for what it's worth, he looked good on it, but you have to wonder, I mean, would he not look better even on some of these other more traditional mid lane mages? Not that Raijin isn't, but he's definitely not at the top right now. As Terra is added over for Splyce. This was the Ares last time, and that wasn't even banned away. They're just electing to go with the Terra instead in that support role slot. Meanwhile, Trifecta going to go with the Achilles in the jungle yet again.
I mean, in Game 1, Trifecta first picks this Terra, and now it gets all the way down to the second half of the draft, surprisingly enough. Serket is going to be the jungle selection now for Trifecta. They'll let Scary D take that Achilles into lane up against Hercules, and I think this is a better idea for Trifecta. But Finch, don't you look at this team composition and go, they better damn well win early or else they're in trouble?
You often say it for any team composition that Trifecta ends up drafting,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. So their late game team fight is just not very good. Trifecta feels like a team to me that can do well in late game team fights. I don't know what's going on in their practice behind the scenes that makes them feel differently, but their draft tells me that they feel like they need to win early or they're going to have a bad chance to win.
Well, Splyce certainly in a good spot, have very similar to the draft they had last game. Instead, just only making a few adjustments. Splyce, though, with this draft here, you lean a little bit towards it, or you feel like maybe Trifecta can get off to a better start here?
I mean, they definitely can get off to a better start than they did in Game 1. I think having Raijin in the mid lane is going to be a boon for them, but
yes.
I still think that Splyce is playing at a higher level, and you still gave Divios Hercules, you still gave CycloneSpin Artemis, and you gave Cyno Naja. And I don't see anything that changes those three picks being very impactful.
Yeah, and I don't know if Cyno's going to gift you another kill in mid lane like he did last time with that death he took on the Paul, so it might be even worse. We'll see, though, how these picks all work in action. Splyce first, Trifecta. Game 2, we'll go ahead and get it over to the casters.
This is one of the few jobs that when your buddy does it right, you get mad. I got nothing else to say because Aggro nailed everything. 3 comfort picks for Splyce. They're playing better, and exactly, lack of late game here for Trifecta worries me.
Everything about Trifecta's composition says we want to finish this game early and we want to hit you hard so you can't respond. But I'm not sure that this is the composition you make a knockout punch with.
It's, you know what it is? This is clearly an early game composition, but it's not the earliest game composition. You know what I mean?
It wasn't the full 9 yards. They basically went like 50% of the way there, maybe even arguably 75%, but you're still missing the other little bits that matter.
Exactly. you could have gone all the way. And I think that sort of we're stuck in between. They're in like a purgatory right now. We're not quite late game. We're not quite early game. And that doesn't make you mid-game by default. So they're kind of in a rough spot with their draft. But will they be able to overcome that and find the victory? That's a different conversation. And we're going to look at that as we get into game number 2. Ready, set, go.
My big issue with this, though, is that they let Splyce not only get the same exact composition as the previous game, but arguably even better, because it's Aror now on a Terra, Earth and Fury. If you didn't think that Splyce were doing enough damage as is, now it's going to be even more so because of the fact that you have so much more damage that's going to be going into Trifecta. I believe, what, 20%?
This is the Paul show for Trifecta here. This is basically Trifecta are sitting here and going, all right, Scary D and Mask and NeiruMah and Zapman, get us some early game pressure, right? Raishin's going to be doing that as well, right? And hopefully Paul will be the guy that brings us into the late game, because all 4 of the characters surrounding them have troubles transitioning. And like you said, Aurora's bringing an extra 20% damage.
Paul is also on a very stationary god. You know exactly where Raijin is going to be when he starts and when he finishes his combo. And that could be concerning. Speaking of concerning, CycloneSpin going to eat a little bit more poke than what he was bargaining for. Seemed as if Cyclone and Aror maybe anticipating to get the damage against NeiruMah and Zap, but Sylvan is Hachi, man. They don't want to lose this duo right away.
Only 22% think Zap and NeiruMah are going to be on the winning team this time around. Nice route onto the Hunter. Aror now trying to fight into it as NeiruMah takes a whole bunch of damage. Aror with the body blocks. And Zapman won't be able to find the basics, but the purple buff will go the way of Trifecta.
More importantly, Cyclone and Aror, they lose their purple buff outside of those minis, and they lose the entire wave.
Yeah.
I think they might have gotten credit for 1 creep at the most.
Yeah,
so
I think it was just 1 fight.
This should be a very substantial lead already in place, or already in the works for Trifecta, but one member who wishes that he had a little bit of help is Scary D against Divios.
Watching them run around the minions was fun. Cyno with the juke shoes. Dodging out both Cobra's kisses is tough, but Cyno's able to do so. Catches up thanks to the sash, and the ring toss going to slow the enemy down. Aror and Cyclone make the rotation, and TheBest is here as well. Mask trying to control the mid laner. NeiruMah gets controlled. Splyce with the pincer from mid and left side. Coalesce in the jungle. First blood for the black and yellow.
Aror doesn't need to be level 2 when level 1's all it takes. Perfectly placed wall also. NeiruMah knew he couldn't go backwards, he couldn't go forward. He's just stuck in place.
You know what it was? It was Aror and CycloneSpin were only level 1. But the mid laner and jungle were level 2, and that's good enough.
I think Cyclone had just hit level 2.
Tucker, I was just trying to make a joke about the mid lane rotating.
It's okay. I'm the analytical part for a reason.
Please let me have a win. Oh? No.
No.
I thought Neil might have gotten that one.
They also lost the red buff in very similar fashion.
Yeah, just not coming up good for Trifecta after it just came up perfect. I mean, that's a really rough one, because Trifecta had this lane just hand over fist, and then Splyce get 1 kill and everything's even again. In fact, tilted in Splyce's favor because, like you said, with the invades.
I will say, though, if Trifecta are going to lose a lead, that's the way that I prefer to see them doing it, is actually trying to utilize the aggressive components of their composition during the early game.
I feel that, exactly. I'm with that, right? You've gotta try for stuff. Too many times we've seen teams just lose because they just don't do anything. Nice pull coming out from NeiruMah. Won't be able to follow it up with the root. There's the hit from the banners. Zapman trying to find the basics. Aror, perfect body blocks. Zapman still finding them, and NeiruMah over the top gets the kill with the basic. Really smooth stuff from Trifecta there. Accurate duo lane. Very, very clean.
Poor Aror didn't even bother using that sprint because he was expecting Cyclone to be safe and sound by then. Root just barely managing to find its lock on onto CycloneSpin, and well, Neil might have originally been behind, but that's going to close that gap very nicely here. Scary D, though, lucking out that excavate was just off the mark there for Divios.
That's funny. I think solo laners that have experience playing the Hercules understand exactly what went down there. NeiruMah going to be taken to the sky. Cyno 2 levels his senior. Followed up TheBest, perfect timing with the Discordia apple. It spreads. NeiruMah goes down. Zapman below half HP. TheBest shows up, and Paul here with the ultimate. Scary D takes care of Divios off screen. Paul takes care of Cyno on screen. 2 for 2 across the board. Or excuse me, 1 for 2 across the board. NeiruMah goes down, but Divios and Cyno also do. Trifecta with a nice play overall.
Just a little bit unfortunate for Cyno. Bit off more than he could chew. Wasn't expecting that burst damage out of Paul in the Taiko drum. Speaking of which, Best still not able to escape either.
Death.
That's going to be a free one for Mass. Last breath, getting credit for it. And, well, if you're Best, you just wanted the one more wave.
Just one. Hashtag one more wave.
One more wave syndrome. It always takes place.
TheBest has been saying that since 2013 on Team Dignitas with Zapman. One more wave, please. Divios dies over there in the short side as well. We saw him use the ultimate onto Scary D, but misses it. And ultimately, he throws it in the direction if Scary D were to try to go onto the tower, right? That's why you see him miss as big as he did. But this is the way the kill went.
This is exactly what kind of punishment you need to see happening against Divios. And Mass didn't even have to use the last breath in that circumstance, but it helps close that gap a little bit because Divios was starting to break away from Scary D for a moment there. He had him heavily controlled underneath his own T1. So Mass comes over, alleviates a lot of that solo lane pressure, and now Scary D can actually afford to fight into Divios.
And that's a big adaptation. Game number 1, Divios just spiraled out of control. Here, the moment that it looks like Divios is getting too successful, you see Mask show up and say, all right, no, you're not going to beat us like that a second time. Game number 1 was just the Divios show. Game number 2, if y'all are going to beat us, you're going to have to work for it. Cyno taking a lot of damage, goes aggressive. Level 6 to Mask's level 7, but TheBest waiting at the bottom one more time. Mask will sit down.
And Divios, again, saves TheBest away from any further potential damage out of Scary D, although Best isn't out of the red zone just yet. Paul did rotate over and made sure to cut Best off from the mid lane, so he won't get credit for any of the experience that just fizzled into his tower, but at least he's not dead.
Cyno on the Naja, just a little bit too scary.
Also, we exaggerated, or I should say I exaggerated a little bit earlier, because sometimes it feels like 20% additional damage from that Terra or then Fury, but it's actually 5% that all damage sources tend to do. And speaking of damage, NeiruMah eating way too much of it out of Cyclone.
And Paul over the wall just coming through. Let me see those grills. CycloneSpin gonna fall down and Aror likely to follow. Zapman gets that one. 2-0-2 for Paul in the mid lane. And Zapman finds his first kill of the contest. Trifecta 6-4 at 7 minutes in. A much different tone than game 1. We've got a tie game.
But keep in mind, this is also kind of what we were mentioning before this match even began, is that Trifecta very obviously had the advantage earlier on into the game. It's whether or not they're going to be able to actually transition this further down the line as the match progresses.
It's also that was a really clean play from Paul, reading that the Strife was going to go behind him, so he steps forward. Really nice. The thing is, though, is that, yes, they have an earlier composition, and that's why we're seeing them perhaps a little bit more successful, but I'm also seeing the decision-making just better than in game number 1. I mentioned how impressed I was with Mask making the adaptation to show up to the solo lane a little bit more often. Now Scary D has the lead. So, yes, the characters are different, but we're also, in addition, seeing a difference with the thought process as well. And I think that's a positive if you're at home rooting for Mask and the rest of Trifecta.
And Scary D also made the adjustment to go for the Achilles into the Hercules, so Trifecta probably fine with Divios getting that Hercules one more time because they were anticipating putting Scary D on an aggressive solo also.
I don't know if anybody's fine with Divios getting Hercules, but maybe they can deal with it, or at least they think they can.
Well, you know what's going to happen. If you leave it open, you're 99% sure that Splyce is going to pick it up again.
Oh, there's the flip. There's the kick under the tower. Scary D getting body blocked a little bit. Ooh, 50% HP on the heel man.
He does have that Glad Shield, though, so that's going to help him out a little bit. All he needs is one ability to tick, and he'll get the proc for the small heal.
Of course, the Chalice just going to keep doing it as well. So he's got the ability to heal himself up. No big deal. Scary D looking to get his blue buff as well. Divios has not been as active in the enemy jungle this time around either, which again is a result, in my opinion, of Mask showing up on this side.
Mask is also with the Surcat, which poses a much larger threat than the prior match because you have the 100% anti-heal from that last breath. Cobra's Kiss also into the Deathbane. You don't want to let all those poisons stack on you for free because the auto attack that follows, usually more than enough to take out even a Hercules.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough. Scary D now. Nice stun on Divios. These guys are just going to box each other. There's no sense in me calling play-by-play for this one.
At least the first 6,000 to 8,000 damage that a solo laner puts up typically tends to be that stalemated slap boxing contest where you know neither side truly wins here.
And it's funny because at least there's a reason now. I'm talking Warrior's Blessing. Before we used to just watch them punch each other for no reason. Scary D rotating to the left-hand side. Divios going to follow suit as well. And really, no real gigantic reason for this rotation. Looked like Trifecta just wanted to invade the red buff, and it was worth the solo later.
They wanted to throw up bodies to make sure that Splyce couldn't immediately contest the buff. Trifecta get what they were asking for or looking for, and they take the red buff away. It's just that now there's always the concern of, is there an engagement going to break out after the fact? And right now it doesn't seem as though Splyce are all that interested.
Yeah, not too interested in going for. Oh, Scary D, turn the corner, and there's 3 members of Splyce. Taco, I think that's one of those scenarios where you turn the corner, you get Naja ulted, and you just take your hands off your keyboard and you go, okay.
Splyce recognizing that Scary D was by himself. And Scary D, I think, getting a little, I don't want to call it lazy because that's his jungle pathway to take back the lane. It's just unexpected.
Yeah, that was just Splyce in the right spot. There's no reason. I'm not mad at Scary D for walking in there blindly. I mean, especially as a solo laner with a lead, right? He had about a half a level lead. You walk in blindly to the jungle and you get hit a little bit by the mid lane or whatever. You keep walking. Mask and ult Divios, cut down his healing so he won't be able to get the mitigate wounds. Here comes help from Cyno. NeiruMah from behind, but not a lot of damage on the support player. 4 players surrounding him, a lot of damage on top of the support player. Divios hanging on by a thread, and NeiruMah from beyond the grave gets the martyrdom kill.
That dot damage from the Wrath of Terror going to be enough to confirm it against Divios, but the big thing I'm looking at, poor Divios waiting for the driving strike off of NeiruMah, but the stripe from Best kept him locked in place. Not that it matters in the end because the kill still happens either way. It just feels bad when you get the Earthbreaker off and you can't connect to the driving strike immediately after.
Yeah, Divios finding his second death of the game, a much different tune than game number 1. And Divios likely to build into the Anchile one more time, but I love, because especially since game number 1 we discussed how he's very specific with his builds. Cyno one more time, using that ult on cooldown, Taco.
Ooh. Beautifully played there by TheBest, but even better played out of Paul. Gonna punish Cyno the moment that he lands it right into the double kill onto Best.
Now Aror hanging on. Here comes the execute. Missed! Scary D off the mark. Zapman's there taking down Aror, helping out. His little brother over there in the solo lane. Woof. Scary D misses 1. Can't miss too many more, but earlier on, Taco, I said this has to be the Paul show, and right now it's working out.
This is what we wanted from Paul in the last game, that he wasn't able to produce because of how heavily targeted out he was on that Uller. Not a lot of survivability there, at least not for the composition that Splyce had drafted for. And now he is still stationary, but Splyce haven't been paying nearly as much attention towards Paul as they should be. It seems like they're kind of forgetting that Paul's on a mage this time around. And the Taiko drums, there's some range on those.
That's a replay of Paul's voice pack on the monkey Raijin real quick. But no, jokes aside, yes. I think Raijin has some of the bigger range possible. The Raiju, the ultimate, ton of range on this character. Definitely a big deal. Bringing it back to Divios right quick. The Anchile likely to come after the breastplate game number 1. It came before. And this is a nice adaptation. Last time he was against the Cerberus. Now he's not, but there's still a mage with channeled abilities, and that's Paul. And he'll be able to shut that down a little bit later.
Cyno also kind of just has to pick his poison and what he wants to die to. Because as an Aja, I feel this time around, Trifecta really do have a draft that can actually counter-initiate or just counter-gank. And so we've seen Cyno be the aggressor so far in this match. I'm not sure how many more times he's still going to be the one fully initiating before just letting Aror or Divios take up the head for that instead, because if he continues to go in as Naja, there's a very high likelihood he'll be dead upon arrival back to the ground.
At the same time, if Naja trades 1-1 against this draft that Trifecta has, it's kind of fine.
Fair enough.
Not always the case, but specifically with this draft, dude, ult someone and kill him, and then it's a 4-on-4. We're fine with that.
In that case, I want it to be Paul every time in the late game.
I definitely agree with that one. Mask gets to jump on a Cyno, and he's likely to fall down. Finds the in-between and won't spread to his teammates. Both TheBest and Divios get away from that one. Cyclone takes care of Mask. Meanwhile, Tusky's going nuts. Hits Zapman. Cyclone brings down the big Z to about half. Paul still playing aggressive. Scary D pushing forward. Splyce on the retreat. Gold Fury exposed. I don't know if Trifecta are that crazy, and they're not.
Zapman's just a little bit too low for comfort. I think if Zapman hadn't been hit for damage, speaking of which, going to be able to IE Jitsu away from the excavate by Divios, but no one expects the Blink Hercules.
Blink Hercules, again, and again, just Divios, a man after my own heart. Blink Hercules, I think, has so much potential. Everybody looks at Tyr and says, I can't play this character without Blink, and doesn't make the jump to Herc. Meanwhile, oh man, I'm excited. I really want to see the Blink behind 180 driving strike.
He almost had it on that one, but Zap was really quick on those purification beads also. He knew what was coming next if he doesn't use the beads. Aror poked out to about 30% out there. Trifecta, they're the ones interested in pulling this Gold Fury, but are they interested in the fight or the objective?
Can't even tell here. I think Trifecta will take either. 50% so far on the GF. There's Divios getting hit by a little bit of everything, and he just doesn't care. Mask goes down. The ultimate coming out, pulling Scary D, and it screws him up. Oh, NeiruMah lands the skillful pull, but it will separate his teammate from the execute. Divios still alive like the Portal song.
Everyone is just dying one by
Divios
one.
Again!
Trifecta are just falling apart here. They are being torn apart by Splyce. Divios now up to 30% health. Paul, who is just trying to aid the rest of his team. Zapman, no purification beads because Divios already pulled those. And I know it's uncommon to go for repeat MVP performances, but this is just Divios all day long.
The game was tied for 16 minutes and 59 seconds. Divios shows up, gets a kill. He gets initiated on by a Circuit.
He wasn't even trying to fight.
He gets initiated on by a Circuit as a Hercules, wins the trade, survives, walks out of the fight, heals up, comes back, and then ultimately, in my opinion, Taco, wins the team fight for his squad, getting them Gold Fury, and Cyno Shore narrowly escapes, brings a player down, and guess who gets the last hit on the kill?
Kind of like what we just saw there from Divios. Mask outplays Cyno a little bit, forces Cyno to ult away from him. Best coming in for the assist just to try and keep his teammates safe, but now Scary D might be able to finish up where Mask left off. Cyno trying to do everything in his power to peel and escape, but
Naja, baby, Naja. Too mobile, too clean, too quick, too concentrated. Scary D could have went for the kill there, but ultimately looking for the escape. Dodges the sash out of Cyno. Now there's flip, there's kick, Cyno on top, there's help, and Big D, 4 kills in 1.5 minutes. Just putting that out there. He was 0-2 and something before 17 minutes. And now he's got 4 kills.
I'm convinced if Divios hits you one time with the Earthbreaker, you are not escaping him anymore because he's just got you on lock from that moment onward. He has been so on point with these Earthbreakers into the driving strikes, and I still have to go back to that initial engagement for Trifecta. It was clearly a little bit of miscommunication, And I can't fault either side of it. It was just really unfortunate timing from both NeiruMah and Mask.
Again, I have to agree.
Scary D.
Yeah.
Also, Scary D also involved in that.
What do you do? Just after all of that, the game was tied at 17 minutes. It's now 19 minutes. And we're separated by 6,000 gold. And a lot of it has to do with this man on your screen right here. Big Divios was just out of control in the Hercules. One of his more comfortable picks, a go-to option, the blink to stay aggressive. He's got everything he wants.
If he didn't feel unkillable before, just wait until these high to the urchin stacks start trickling in. He's already got it finished off, and it might seem a little bit late here in that 4th item slot. This is perfectly acceptable based on how Splyce have been fighting. Most of their action didn't take place in the early game. That 4th item, 5th item slot still usually happening around that mid-game sector. I think we are definitely in the mid-game stride right now, and if Divios can get even 3 stacks within the next 5 to 6 minutes, this item has more than paid itself off.
Yeah, this is where I like the urchin. I like it here. I like it 3rd item. 5th item I think is acceptable, but starts to get a little bit scary, and you got to judge the game as it's coming, right? If it's 25 minutes in and every 2 minutes of the team fight, go for it.
Here's where the flaws from Trifecta's draft might start bleeding through, though, because even if Trifecta were to kill Divios, the investment that they would have to commit, it's just almost not worth it right now.
Look at the damage on Fire Giant, already down to about a quarter, but Splyce more interested in the team fight. Left side, Divios controlling Paul. Cyno going to join that conversation. Paul jumping away. CycloneSpin takes care of Scary D. Giant ultimate from NeiruMah, but it's defensive. Nobody can catch up. The boulder over the target. Zapman going to go under the ground. Cyno Shore 1. Cyclone 1. Paul, the only one alive. And Divios going to chase him out while the rest of the team does the Fire Giant.
Trifecta were all in the right spot, but they weren't together. They were just too spread apart from each other. So Splyce dismantling them one by one, sending 2 against 1. 2's better than 1 every time. And Trifecta, right as they're starting to respond, it only adds even more so to the chaos, and there's just nothing left to be done about that one. They lose the fight, they lose the Fire Giant, and they might even end up losing this mid-Phoenix.
I mean, the tier 1 tower goes down easily. Cyno with the split push. Najah very adept at taking care of structures with the Flaming Spear. And Divios just walking forward, just pressing W at you. I mean, this is... He's the quintessential warrior that walks at you.
A moment to breathe here, though, if you're Trifecta. Every single T2 removed from the map outside of the one in duo, and that one probably won't be standing for much longer either. They've got to find some form of a response, but now they have to try and fight underneath their Phoenixes, and there's only so far that can take them, because this composition just relied so heavily on that early game, transitioning well into the mid, and Splyce shut it down. Not even entirely out of their own gameplay. Splyce, don't get me wrong, have been playing awesome together, but I can't help but feel like Trifecta also fed into it a little bit.
That's exactly what happened, Taco, is that Splyce were never the ones making the aggressive plays. You mentioned it time and time again. Divios not even trying to fight here and just kept getting jumped on. For me, it was Trifecta making the moves, and they were an early to mid-game composition. They had to make the moves that they were making. It's just that Splyce responded to them in kind and answered the phone with the correct response. Almost 14,000 in the lead off of taking advantage of Trifecta.
There's just only so much left to be done here, and Splyce, well, they knew that tower was the only one standing also. They're going to be 5-man grouped up here on the left-hand side. They might even look to push this left-hand Phoenix.
I'd like to see that.
Being furthest away from the Fire Giant definitely makes the most sense. Also, they've got the mid waves pretty pushed up in mid, which is why we see Mass looking to take care of them. NeiruMah.
Nice try.
Tried for the cheeky pull.
Divios leading the charge. Flip. Kick. Gone. CycloneSpin on the good side versus NeiruMah. Scary D gonna get hit by Big Divios one more time. Inside lane. Out of lane. It doesn't matter. Divios has won the solo side. 6-2-7. For the Canadian mastermind, and Splyce 5-member strong, looking to take care of the Titan.
There's nowhere left to run. Zapman not even safe inside of his own base. Cyno gonna take him out up in the air once he lands on the ground. Mass gets that last breath off. Poison is spreading all over the place. This could be the best fight that Trifecta have been able to find.
But just a little bit too little too late. Had the Titan had maybe 2,000 more health on it,
we could see a turnaround there. But even still, if they manage to turn that one around, their Titan's still sitting at such incredibly low health that I'm pretty sure we see Splyce roll over them in the end there anyway. That was just a really clean performance, and it felt like it exploded from nowhere by Splyce.
Yeah, I like how it was Trifecta repeatedly trying to get these team fights off, which they should. That was the right move, but Splyce was just able to respond a little bit better. Most valuable player, I'm going to tell you to vote for Divios.
I think you have to vote for Divios. After watching this set performance, there's almost no reason not to.
Nah.
Don't get me wrong, the other members from Splyce were participating too and doing a great job at it. Their follow-up was on point, but Divios.
Yeah, just Divios. I mean, got to mention before we toss the desk, Cyno and TheBest worked out really well together. Cyno would just line them up and Best would put them down, but Divios.
Not much. Thank you, Tom and Taco. Finch and Aggro here.
Taco was so close. She was so close. She just had to wait for 5 more seconds, and she would have been clear. But it's all right. I'm sorry. I just had to put that in.
No problem at all. And nothing but problems if you're on Trifecta. A rough set there, but Splyce looking great. In both games, it really felt like it came out of nowhere, didn't it? Trifecta looked good in the early game for both games, and then suddenly... I was going to say something other than Divios, but it's suddenly Divios is what ends up happening.
Divios, man, this Hercules pick. It just, Trifecta didn't seem to have an answer for it. The anti-heal from Mask wasn't good enough, whether it's his ultimate or the Brawler's Beat Stick that he bought. Paul goes for Spear of the Magus and Obsidian Shard, and part of me wonders if that's a Divine Ruin instead of Spear of the Magus. He does less damage, yes, but maybe that anti-heal is enough. Against the Terra and the Hercules and the Naja healing and the life steal from CycloneSpin, I don't know. Paul was off to such a great start that maybe that lack of damage doesn't hurt him as much, and he's able to apply that anti-heal, and maybe it makes a difference for Trifecta.
Well, and one of our least surprising MVP results ever, it's going to be Divios that's selected here, Ryan.
Oh, okay.
I think that Mixer Jet, yet again, got that one correct. And this fight was so important. This is the one where they're not able to land the execute, and the complexion of the fight just changes so much if Divios does die here. But I think that he gets pulled by NeiruMah is what ends up happening, and then the execute from Achilles doesn't land. Divios able to continue to run that team fight, and that's just one of those things where I don't think anyone's done anything wrong.
Right.
It just
happens.
Sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does. It happens, but it doesn't make it feel any better. Neil is still probably kicking himself about it, but it wasn't a misplay by him by any stretch. It's just one of the things that happens, especially whenever you are a team that hasn't been together forever. I mean, Scary and Neil have been playing together all of Season 5, but those are the little things like that are what take years and years of being on the same team to be on the same page about.
Yeah, and there's no time, right? If that play happens and Neil waits to hear a call, then he doesn't get the pull if they need it. You know what I mean? So I'm 100% on Neil's side on that one. I think that's just one of those plays where it just fell the wrong way, man.
Yep.
I don't know what else you can do.
That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
sometimes.
As they
like the movie.
Like the movie, yeah, that's the way you do those references. But here's the schedule. That way you can take a look at the results of what happened already and what you can expect from the rest of this week. As we said, an important set here between Trifecta and Splyce to close the day out on Wednesday. And Splyce now, they kind of got their destiny in their hands. It feels like they're playing United at the end of the split or at the end of the week, and they need to win that set.
They really do. And also tomorrow, Obey versus Dignitas. That's a big game for one of those teams to make sure they can have a really good chance of going to LAN. And it isn't Team Dignitas. That's Obey Alliance would be tied with Rival if they can find that victory over Dig, particularly if it's just a 2-0 for them.
Boy, look how clumped it is in your... Are you kidding me?
Insane.
That's gross. It's 2 games that separate the energy and Dig.
I know. First from 5th.
That's insane. Yeah. And you're right. It's Dig. That's 5th.
Yes,
who calls
Dignitas
that, right?
is in 5th place, and likely, I don't think they're going to land. I really don't. You could basically call them dead at this point with not only their win-loss, but their plus-minus as well. Being in the negatives, it's going to be difficult for them to bounce back.
And who they've gotten their losses against, right? Yeah, so that really does make it difficult for them. Mouse with a legitimate chance to try and climb back up. I mean, EU, it just continues to get better. We'll take another closer look at them tomorrow, obviously, but let's go ahead and take a look at the format we're doing for the entire summer, where we got Esports Weekly every Monday at 10 a.m. Make sure you're checking that one out. Ryan, usually the pilot for that one, but we've got Tom in the driver's seat this week. Then console.
You don't tell them that now, Finch.
Then no one will
spring that on them as they watch.
All right, I got to try another lie to save it. Tom's going to wear this cool tie that Ryan has. You guys are going to want to see that, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
tune in for that.
Yeah, if he decided to do that, that's actually a good idea. Maybe I'll give him the tie so that there will be a part of me there and that people will actually tune in and watch.
Well, your picks will still be there in spirit, right?
Yeah. They will be, and I'll be able to continue my summer split dominance so far that I've been a part of.
I can't believe Hindu and Taco can't beat Ryan in the picks department. We got to get someone else up here.
You think you could do better, huh?
I do, yeah.
Wow. All right.
But luckily, I'll never have to test it, so I'm free to say it.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think we can. I think we can work something out for a fall split. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah, I think we could figure something out and see if that ends up getting tried out. But not just fall split, but a lot of cool stuff's going to be happening. In particular, HRX DreamHack. That's where we're going to be for that big event, November 16th through 18th. And make sure you grab your tickets now at hi-rezexpo.com. See Smite World Championship, console, Paladins console, just a ton of high-res esports action.
Yeah, you should buy your tickets as soon as humanly possible. And then I heard John Finch actually wants to hear about your ticket purchasing experience.
That's right.
So make sure you maybe take some screenshots, send them to John Finch on Twitter, and he'll congratulate you and also give you a gift at HRX.
Yeah, that's right. If you take a screen cap of you buying your HRX ticket and then put a funny caption beneath my favorite one, I'll, thumbs up it or something or give you a hug maybe.
No, it'll be a special gift for sure.
Right, yeah, it'll be a really special gift. I have a ton of those available to me.
That's really nice of you, Finch, that you were telling me about that.
That's right. I was going to try and back down and do a normal gift, but Ryan just wouldn't let me. Special is what it will be, and special is what you all get to enjoy. We do have a gym sale going on right now, 30% off gym packs for a limited time. In celebration of Loki not being in the game. That is Loki on the screen, by the way.
Did you hear my joke about this yesterday?
I didn't. Say it again.
Great. That's perfect. I'm really glad you said that.
Great.
So it's 35% off because Loki isn't in the game because he's slashing the prices.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the whole joke.
That's
it's over.
The one. Yep.
Excellent. Well, this is your chance to go play some arena games without having to worry about those sweaty 15-star Lokis in your game, making everything worse. So once we take them out, enjoy that. And in celebration of that, we got the gym sale going on.
Why are you calling out Anatoly like that?
He needs to be called out. Someone needs to do something about it. When someone has an addiction, when someone is sick, you don't let that go.
This is the intervention that Anatoly needed for his 78-star Loki.
Yeah, someone needs to stop him. He's just going to keep going.
It's just crazy that he has 97 stars on Loki. It's just preposterous.
It really is crazy because there's not even room for 110 stars, but somehow he has them.
Somehow he's hit 163 stars. Beach it. Good Lord.
Yeah, that's going to do it here for us in the SPL.